Hi, I thought I'd try a little change of scenery today, or at least I can look out into my garden and you guys can look at the mess that is my workspace. I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks, not because I've quit YouTubing or watches, absolutely not. I am still very much in love with them. To be perfectly honest with you, I've been working. I've been writing or doing another revision of a film I've been writing, a script. So I've been head down, bum up in my other passion, which is not only film but horror movies, working on a script. So I'm still working on that amongst other projects. So my watch videos are thinning out a little bit, but they're not going away. And I thought today I'd just try something a little bit different and just have a chat, because as I mentioned in my previous video, I've been lacking a little inspiration, and that's probably because I've been head down, bum up, writing and concentrating on other areas, that I haven't turned my mind to watches and the watch market in particular. Any suggestions, greatly appreciated as always. I will take them on board. But I wanted to have a little discussion today about the Moonswatch. Now, I know people have talked about this ad nauseum, but there's a reason for that. So if you can cast your mind back to early last year, when Omega and Swatch announced their collaboration, and then the pandemonium that was the launch of the Moonswatch. And if you recall, unless you were living under a rock, it went nuts. There were like lines, like people camped out at stores for this watch because you can't buy them online, which is of great consternation and annoyance to a lot of us, myself included. And eventually I did get one, which ironically I didn't plan this video very well, in the sense that I should have worn it. It's satin, the one that I've got, and I've got it on a particularly funny pinkish red strap at the moment, because even though I absolutely love that watch, it is so hard to put a strap on it to match, because it's brown and it's kind of like you've got like this earthy khaki tone with browns, and so it goes really well with a green strap, a brown strap, which is ugly. And I thought, stuff it, I'm going to put it on this random pinky red strap, which ironically kind of looks like a little bit like this color, which brings me to what I'm about to talk about. So Moonswatch. So they sold out really quickly. Then there was this craziness with the secondary market where you could buy them for like $3,000 Australian. Remember, we're talking monopoly money here, or even more at one given point, depending on which one you wanted, all of that. But let's not go into that detail. Not about details on this channel. And oddly enough, they sort of started to come down, and they were getting a little bit more available, and the stores were getting regular supply, but they are only available in store. Not every city, I discovered, has a store. And as I discovered the other week, even though they get regular supply of these watches now, and we're talking about September 2023, so 18 months after their release, or give or take, there are still queues outside the stores. So I went on a mission. Yes, pun intended. I went on a mission the other week because I've been having a chat with my mate in LA, and there's no Swatch store in LA, and he'd really like a Moonswatch. And I said, look, why don't I see if I can get you one? Obviously I can't promise anything, because it depends whether they have a supply and all that, but let me give it a crack. So and I'm going next month, right? So I didn't want to go too early. I didn't want to peak too early, so to speak. So I thought I'll just leave it until get closer to the date, and maybe it'll also be easier because time would have passed, yada yada yada. Anyway, so I went on my little mission the other week, and I started off by ringing the store every day, and it became very evident that whilst they get stock nearly every other day, it comes in between a window in the day, in the middle of the day, mind you. So thus, those of us who work, not very easy. And they don't know when exactly it's coming in. And so I kind of played this dance for a couple of weeks, and it got to actually a Saturday. And oddly enough, my wife and I, we've discovered the benefits of the infrared sauna, and we were doing a Saturday morning session in there, and we're sitting in the sauna, as we do, just chatting away, catching up over the week. And I'm explaining this to her about the swatch scenario. And she's like, well, let's just, when we leave, let's just go. We're going out to lunch. We've got to go that way anyway. Let's duck into town and see if we can get one. I went, yeah, okay, that's a pretty good idea. So we duck into town. It's, what is it, 12:30. So it's lunchtime. And I rang them before and they're like, yeah, we're getting a delivery into like this morning, but we don't know when. And I was like, oh, so we go in, and no joke, it's 12:30 and there's still a queue. Granted, it wasn't a huge queue at this point in time. So I'm standing in the queue, and it became evident we were probably talking to the store manager who was sort of managing the queue. And I said, oh, like these watches are still really popular. Yes, no? And he's like, yeah. I said, so when do you get a delivery? And he goes, we get one every other day. We never know what's coming in, exactly what time they're coming in. And he goes, by the time they arrive, he goes, I start a queue at the front of the store. This is in Sydney, in the heart of the city. And he goes, it takes us about 30-45 minutes to kind of unbox and, you know, get our shit together ready to sell. These are my words, not his. And he goes, so by the time we finish that, the queue is like out the door around the corner. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's 18 months later and people are still queuing out the door and around the corner for these watches. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I got lucky. So I got there, and my mate, who's Tony, he gave me his top 3. And because I said, can you give me like some options here? Because, you know, so he gave me his top 3. I got number 3 on his list. The first 2, which obviously are the most popular, were gone. I think it was like, not Earth, because that's the one I got, but it was the Moon and another one that's super, super popular. So they were gone. But I got him this, which was very exciting. I think it was Mercury and the Moon. They were gone. I don't know if others were gone, but they were the ones I asked about because they were my list. Still had this one. I love this one, by the way. I'm not going to open it because it's Tony's joy to open. It's not mine. It's waiting here. I will bring it with me with love and joy over to LA when I come next month. I was super stoked, by the way, that I got it, because it was not, please don't get me wrong, Tony's going to watch this, I'm sure. I don't want him to feel bad that I went out of my way. It's not about that. There's total pleasure to do that. But then because I'd committed to doing that, the type A personality in me was like, I have to get this watch. So I was like, fuck, what happens if I can't get this watch? So when I got it the other week, I was like, oh, thank fuck, I got this watch. I was like, because I was going to be like, oh no, I can't go there empty-handed. I think it's extraordinary. So I know, like I said, people have talked about this ad nauseum, but it still astonishes me how popular this watch is, and I think it still is genius that Swatch have done this. People love these watches. You know, and granted, there was a father and son that were ahead of us in the queue the other day, and they really didn't know anything about these watches. They just kind of saw them and went, they're cool, got in the queue and bought one. So good on them. I mean, they're introducing new people to watches, right? Like that's the whole point of this. That's the brilliance of this. That's what we want. We want people to be engaged with watches and buying watches. I mean, I'm not a watch seller, but I'd imagine that's what watch companies would want, when people could so easily just put a smartwatch on their wrist. It's not a watch in my view, it's a computer on your wrist. Separate issue, also amazing, but totally different. Like, people could choose to do that for a fraction of the cost, right? This is about engaging a new market. It's like putting out a really cool, cheaper version of a BMW or something to get people engaged in that brand, to make them fans of the brand longer in life. So as your income increases and your taste increases, you'll get the better watch as you journey along. So I still think it's genius. I get that they're kind of like, I mean, they're bioceramic, but they're kind of plastic, let's face it. But that's cool. I'm down with that. It's still a Swatch. But yeah, just it kind of blew my mind that they're still chugging along with such vigor, and they're still hot. So they've really done something there with their marketing, and I think Swatch should get some kind of award if they haven't already for that. But yeah, I don't know. You guys should tell me your thoughts. I know we've talked about this a couple times now, but I just thought it was interesting to revisit, given you know, my recent experience, and just that the brand has still managed to maintain that that vibe, that scarcity of it. You know, they've created the hype around it. They've maintained the hype. I think that's really difficult. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Totally unwatch related, just because, you know, my ADHD kicked in then. Kudos, congratulations, go Matildas. I know we lost the semi-final this week. We still love you. Absolutely brilliant. I've never seen our country more united on a sporting front than I have in the last couple of weeks, except for Kathy Freeman. So I think that says something. It was pretty extraordinary. Love it. Let's take out third place tomorrow, and that'll be the best we've already surpassed any World Cup, male or female, in our entire lifetimes. So I think that's very extraordinary, particularly in a country where we don't value female sport, but no one does. But where we don't provide enough financial resources for sports at the grassroots level to build a foundation to then play in those events and win. So to get that far in that circumstance, extraordinary. You should be really proud. I know you guys were probably watching like Watch Geeks and probably don't care, but it's the only platform I have to say that, so thank you. But yeah, like, let's tip back into the watches for a sec. So yeah, Moonswatch, love them, super fun. I'm gonna have to check out some more G-Shocks. I think everyone keeps talking about them. You know, I've got one, but there's some really fun ones out there as well that aren't as ginormous. And, you know, different bold colors. I'm super excited. I got a new watch for my birthday, but it's not here yet. It's on pre-order. So I'm going to do a video on that when it comes, but that won't be till October. And I think I might do another video on traveling and what watches to wear, because I'm traveling next month. And as usual, it's so funny. I go away and I go, I'm going to wear this and this, you know, like fancy watches. And then I don't wear them. Then I'm away and I'm going, I so could have worn that watch. But then I come back and I get wussy again and I don't wear them. So we're going to have that debate. I know it's first world problems. I get it. But you watch this for escapism, not for realism. Until next time, have an awesome week. Love you guys. Good to see you again.